Hello everyone and welcome to Monday. Keeping in theme with what I talked about the other day in relation to Sam and thinking about children, this evening Mal and I and my parents went out to IHOP to have dinner. And while we were there was a family or something sitting directly behind me. And they had a young son who's probably like, I don't know, maybe 4 or something like that. And we were eating our meal, and then all of a sudden I hear, because I have sorry, that's my that's my impression of Pharrell's "Happy," which is a pretty good song, by the way. I remember when I first heard it, I was like, huh. Usually, whenever I hear, whatever the popular song is, I'm not all that impressed, but I actually really like that song. Anyway, I don't much care for it when it's coming out of a cell phone at maximum volume, like right behind my head. And it started, and I was like, okay, I don't know what's happening. Maybe it's a ringtone. And then I waited, and I was eating my food. And like me and my parents and Mal, we're all trying to have a conversation, and it's very loud. Like, it's very loud. Like, it's hard for me to illustrate exactly how loud this was. This was obviously as like high as the stupid phone could go. So I keep hearing the song, and then eventually it occurs to me that what's happening is not a ringtone. Like, this kid is just straight up listening to the full song, and the song's like 4.5, 5 minutes. And I'm sitting there, and like, at first I got mad. At first I was like, man, I'm trying to talk to somebody, and this thing is just blaring in my, in the back of my head. And at the beginning I got mad. And I was mad for a little bit. But then a thought came to me that I had thought about a little while back, and I'll explain it all in just a second. I have never been a parent. Surprise, surprise, right? I've never been a parent. I've never had a kid, and I don't know the struggles of raising kids. And all kids are different. There's a whole nature-nurture thing, but sometimes nature can prevail. Even if you are a, good parent, sometimes kids are just bad, or they need a particular thing in their life or whatever. So it was very quick and easy of me to say, you know what, this is driving me nuts, and I want to turn around and strangle the kid because, even though, yeah, okay, the song's okay, I don't want to hear the song blast into my ear while I'm eating my dinner. But who knows? Maybe that kid is, crazy, rambunctious, jumping off the wall all the time, and that's a way for, the mom to calm the kid down so he doesn't make a scene in public, even though in some way he was making a scene in public. And the reason that came back to me is because one of the biggest times people hate kids, and I think this is a good generalization, is on airplanes. There is nothing worse than being on a plane and having a kid on the plane whining or crying or yelling or screaming, especially behind you, right behind you, kicking your seat, is the worst. And that's happened to me before. Not often, but it has. And anytime you're in that situation, you're always so quick to say, I wish they would, take care of that kid. Why isn't the parent doing anything? But I've also read accounts on Facebook of parents, who are so deeply embarrassed by that. It's they know. It's not like you need to tell them about their kid. They are aware, and they're trying to get it under control. And sometimes kids are just hard to handle. So it's weird. It's one of those things, I guess, I talked about it the other day. I've been kind of on this meter for the last few years that slowly moves towards, I don't want kids to, I'm getting more and more okay with the idea because I have to put myself into, that situation. Now, admittedly, if I was in that situation, I think I would try to tell my kid not to play music in the restaurant, but I'm just trying to put myself in the mindset of, maybe he, quote unquote, needed that. Just because, like I said, as far as the plane situation goes, I've read accounts of personal friends of mine who said, they've been in that situation, and it's very hard. It is incredibly embarrassing. And it kind of makes me think about how I would deal with that kind of stuff were I a parent, or how I would deal with that stuff in just a few years, because, it's probably likely in a few years that Mal and I will be having, or at least thinking about having a kid. Oh, and by the way, because everyone always wants to know. They're like, when are you having kids? I thought it was clear, but in 5 years, guys. Even though it's now been like 3 or 4 years that we've been saying that. In 5 years, probably have one then. Anyway, you can open this up for whatever kind of discussion you'd like. Maybe you are a parent and you can relate a little bit, or maybe you think that most of the time it is unacceptable, or maybe the parents aren't doing their job. I'm trying to be less quick to judge, is basically what it comes down to, because, I do not know the situation of the parents or the children or whatever, and it's a case-by-case basis. You never really know. So even though I was a little upset to hear Pharrell blasting in my eardrum, eventually the song was over. He didn't play a second song. Luckily, it wasn't jukebox night, and I got back to eating my food, so it all turned out okay in the end. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, let's meet back tomorrow, shall we? Such an ugly day should be banned. It's a day that I can't stand. Okay, enough sewed references. In contrast to the terrible looking day, because it has been raining for quite a while and it's very ugly, Mao has made a exquisitely beautiful sandwich. Sourdough is where it's at. I've long been a fan of sourdough bread, but man, it's good on sandwiches. Good lord, look at that. I can use the fuel from your rocket, and then if I use it with this, pretty cool, huh? Good job, buddy. You blew up the science lab.